Topic 3 is abstraction. Abstraction is a little bit weird for people to get comfortable with, but it is something that you should be aware of. A lot of different languages utilize abstractions, so Python can do the same. So an abstract class is a special class that cannot be instantiated, meaning you cannot create any objects from that class. But you can create classes that inherit abstract classes. And if you do that, you need to ensure that you override any of the abstract methods of the abstract class. So, when I originally introduced classes, I was talking about how a class was a blueprint for creating objects. Well, you could consider an abstract class as a blueprint for creating classes. So it's like a blueprint for a blueprint, if you will. So it kind of enforces you need to have this specific structure when you create your class because you have to fit the structure of this abstract class. So here I'm creating an abstract class. So first of all, abstract classes don't come pre-built in or pre-set up. You need to import them. You don't have to install any new modules, but you do have to import them. So the way you do that is you say from ABC, import ABC, and abstract method. These are the two really commonly used ones. And I'm going to create a class of person, and I am going to inherit ABC. So I am going to say that this class is going to be an abstract class, meaning I cannot instantiate any objects from this class. And in that class, I don't have any init. Typically, you don't have any attributes in your abstract classes. But you can see I have an abstract method, and I have to state that it's an abstract method this way by doing the @ abstract method, and then the following method is considered abstract. So you can see define age range self just returns a person age range is between 0 and 120. Okay, so I've got my abstract class there. And then I'm going to create a class of child that inherits person. So we've done inheritance, so it is inheriting that abstract person class. Now, I currently, you see, I do not, I have an intentional error here, right? So I've got age ranges is not the same as age range. So those two are not identical, which means I am in fact not overriding the abstract method like I'm supposed to. And you can see it cannot instantiate the child with the abstract method age range because I did not override the appropriate methods. It will not let me create a child class off of that. Now, if I then fix this, so it is now age range, and I run this again, you're going to see I don't get the error anymore because now I have appropriately overridden the abstract method from the abstract class. And you can see, I said, hey, create Jimmy was a child, and there are no attributes being input with that, and then just print Jimmy.age range, which I couldn't do before because I didn't have my abstract method set up. So a class that is derived from an abstract class cannot be instantiated unless all of the abstract methods are overwritten. I guess I just said that, so I preempted myself, but that is in fact the case. So you can see here, again, a similar example, my last one it looks like here. Same thing as before, import ABC, abstract method. I've got my class of person here. I have a method called number of limbs, and it just returns a string. A person typically has 4 limbs. And then you see that is not an abstract method. It's just a regular method. And then this one, I have abstract method age range. A person's age range is between 0 and 120. And then I've got a class of child who is inheriting the abstract class. And I just have one method overriding age range, saying my age is between 0 and 18, and I'm grabbing super.ageRange. So this is the error here, because I am attempting to access the age range for my parent class, or my parent abstract class. I'm not able to do that. But if I change this to one moment. I'm sure I've got a thing I've messed with here that is causing this. Jimmy, I've got age range. So I'm trying to create a child, called Jimmy. I'm going to print Jimmy's age range. That shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to attempt to print Jimmy number of limbs, which should work. And this is the one where I'm trying to create, forgot I had done this. I'm trying to create a person object, which I've stated you cannot do. So let me just comment that out and run it again. And you can see that I can access the child method. My age is between 0 and 18. It's overriding that abstract method. And I can access the number of limbs method from the abstract class, because that particular abstract method, or that particular method, is not considered an abstract method within that abstract class. Stuff is rather goofy at times until you get comfortable with it. But if I had put there we go. If I'd have put abstract method on that and try to run it again, I'm not going to be able to, because then I'm attempting to access an abstract method. So each one of your methods in your abstract class need to be marked as an abstract method if you don't want it to be available to the child class. Okay, that's all I have for this week. Next, we have one more week of lecture type material where we'll be going into some more GUI stuff and database integration. And then after that, it is essentially final project for the rest of the semester. In this week's module, in module 11, I gave you a link to the final project parameters so you can start thinking about it. To kind of get a head start on what you want your final project to be. I also probably spoke in more length than I should have in that message about, or maybe I can't remember if I put it in the actual message or in the document, but I would like to see you attempt to stretch your skills a little bit here with final projects. Sometimes people try to play it safe because they're worried they're going to get a poor grade if they try something too difficult and don't do well. That's not really my attitude. I would like to see you push your skills, and I very much grade on effort. I strongly feel that you learn far more from learning your limits, so you can then go beyond your limits. If you make a tic-tac-toe game or something simple, like like several weeks ago I showed you how to do a number guessing game, right? That's not exactly a stretch of your skills. That would be fairly simple. So I don't think anybody really learns anything from doing that kind of stuff. I think they learn from figuring out how far they can push themselves. So the important thing to keep in mind as you go through that is that while I do want you to try to push your limits a little bit, think of your project in a agile way, or at the very least in a prioritized manner. So come up with the simplest version of your project that will run and build that first, because then you have running code. And that is a huge deal first of all, for your self-confidence, and secondly, for building a project that will ultimately do well. So you figure out what the minimum viable product is, the common term used for that, is for your product, and you build that and get it working. Once you get that working, then you start working on a prioritized list of additional features. What's the next most important thing you can add to your project after you get it working? Do that next. Then find the one after that, do that next. And then the one after that, and do that next. And the really great thing about that is, first of all, you can continue working until you run out of time and get as many features as possible. And secondly, the last features on your list are the least important ones. So if you don't get them done, it's not a big deal. So that prioritization of your features is something you should be very mindful about. Figure it out before you really sit down to start writing code. Figure out what your most important stuff is, get that working first, and then start adding on less important, cool stuff later. Anyway, so that's that. But again, next week we'll be going over some new stuff, and then after that it will be essentially work time for the rest of the semester. And normally I make, and I mentioned this in either the message or in the document, each student do a in-person presentation. Unfortunately, with our current environment, I can't do an in-person presentation, but I am asking that you do a video presentation of your code, so you can at least demonstrate working code. And again, that's as much for you as it is for anyone else. I think it's important that you show off all your work, and so your fellow students can see it. If I'm the only one that sees it, it's not as neat as showing your fellow students what you can do or what you've learned, and they can see some of the cool stuff that can be done that maybe they didn't think of. So it's a really good community type thing. With that, that's all I have for this week. Please, as always, reach out to me via email, reach out to me in the discussion board that's on each one of the modules. If need be, you can text me. I prefer email if possible. But if you find that you're just really getting yourself stuck and we need to have a synchronous conversation, we can start that with email, figure out a time that works for both of us, and then we can have a video conference or a phone call to try to get you through any bumps that you're stuck on. Okay, thanks.